This is a presentation that Kirsty would have been providing if she was able to make it today. But I'm just really going to quickly give an overview of this more as a plug. As you'll know and have heard a little bit in the presentations already today, part of the DES fund was awarded to, we got a small award through it to the Improvement Service to work alongside the 12 organisations that had received DES funding to implement the Safe and Together model. And one of our deliverables is that we've committed to produce a report annually for the life of the DES fund, just trying to capture some learning about what are barriers and enablers to implementing the Safe and Together model, and what impact is it having both for workforces and for the women, children and families that they support in Scotland. So over the next week to 2 weeks, we will be launching the Year 1 report, and huge thanks to everyone on this call who's contributed to it through either meeting with Kirsty and sharing learning and experiences, or coming along to the forum meetings, undertaking self-assessment exercises, or providing case studies. We're really grateful for that, and we'll share a copy of the report before it's formally launched, just in case you want to use it locally and see the messages from it. I'm not going to go into any detail today about what's in it, because I actually think that the speakers have covered much more articulately than I could about the progress that's been made across Scotland to implement Safe and Together. And instead, what I just want to focus on is just spend a couple of minutes to talk about kind of the barriers and enablers that we've been hearing from all 12 DES Fund projects, but also the other local authority areas across Scotland who are implementing Safe and Together, however that work is being funded. So mostly by way of just kind of recapping some of the powerful presentations we've heard already this morning, I just wanted to flag a few of the issues that people had really highlighted was critical in helping them to embed the Safe and Together model. So first off, we've heard a number of times about the importance of having dedicated funding and resources to allow this work to happen. As a couple of partners have mentioned, undertaking training on this level of scale and at the pace that this work is having is resource intensive. It's very difficult to do it without funding being made available, both to support people to lead and coordinate that training, but to cover the costs of the training themselves. So people have highlighted that has been a game changer for them, with many noting that up until now they've really had to spend a lot of time finding pockets of underspend and doing it in quite a scattergun way. So having dedicated investment in this area of work for the first time at a national level has been a real catalyst to change for a lot of partners across Scotland. And in addition to undertaking training, we've heard today how it's also allowed a number of local authorities to bring on kind of implementation leads to do wider strategic work as well. So that's been identified as a key enabler. Also, as we've heard today, the real strong role of collective leadership, the role of multi-agency steering groups and governance groups in particular to bring together different public sector, third sector partners at whatever level, and to make sure that there's strong leadership around this agenda, make sure that there's clear implementation plans in place, and make sure that we're really breaking down those silos that are needed to make sure this is recognised as everyone's business and that a joined up approach is being taken across areas of public protection, but wider than that as well. And as noted today, things like the implementation forum have been really helpful to partners, as well as wider support from local and national partners. And I think what people have really benefited from is the opportunity to recognise they're not alone in their journey, that there's shared challenges, but there's also opportunities to share and learn from kind of good practice and where people are seeing wins and progress being made. So the real strength of us being able to connect to one another, both across Scotland and the wider UK, and really share information, learning and resources, and give each other a bit of support, because it can sometimes feel like quite an isolating role and a challenging role to be trying to take forward system change at this level. In terms of barriers, and again, a lot of these have already been spoken about today, While the DES Fund has been welcomed, there are also concerns about having a relatively short-term funding available for something that really needs a long-term investment. If you're wanting to achieve strategic system change, we know that won't happen overnight, and it won't happen within 1 or 2 years. It really needs to be a longer investment than that. And people have also highlighted the need for flexible funding, because what people might need investment in initially around training, workforce development, might be quite different from where investment will have the biggest impact kind of 2 or 3 years down the line, where it might be looking at that wider implementation support and strategic work. And so thinking about a funding model that really supports that level of system change was highlighted as both a need but a barrier at the moment. People also highlighted that adopting a whole systems approach can be incredibly challenging, that because there's such a wide range of agencies, organizations, that's strange pronunciation, organizations and individuals that have a role to play in supporting children and families affected by domestic abuse. It can be hard to bring everyone together, and I think it was really helpful to hear Mike talk about the need to be taking a targeted approach, bringing on champions and then building on that. But people had highlighted that, you know, breaking down silos can be difficult, but it's so important to make sure that we are taking that person-centered approach and rather than just focusing on our own siloed areas. And I suppose I finally want to just touch on this overwhelming message that we got from so many partners when we were speaking to them. The fact that adopting this whole systems approach and creating system change is incredibly difficult at the best of times, but it almost feels like we're operating in the worst of times with ongoing and emerging crises. You know, still dealing with the fallout from the pandemic, and now we're in a straight into the cost of living crisis. And so many times when we're talking to people, they were talking about the impact that that was having on workforces, the level of burnout, the lack of capacity, the competing demands that are being placed on people. And I think that is a challenge that is so important to be aware of, that we're not adding to that. But I suppose one of the takeaways that certainly resonated with me is the fact that so many people are doing this anyway, that this is maybe something that's energizing them and something that's allowing them to create change because they see it so valuable. So heartening to hear the level and scale of progress that's been made across Scotland in the worst of times possible. And I suppose it just shows that if this is as important it is to people to get it right for women and children, then they are finding a way to allow it to happen. So I'm just going to stop there. As I mentioned, we'll be publishing the national report hopefully towards the start of December, but I'll let you know as soon as that is out. And we're really looking forward to continuing to work with partners over the next year or so. Our next phase of work, we really want next year's report and all of the kind of the outputs that lead up to that, to start building that case for why it's so important that we invest in this area of work. And again, Meg, I know you were talking about it's not, you know, it's not inexpensive, but the costs of not doing this will be so much greater. The costs of having these destructive patterns that Anna was talking about, both from a cost to people's lives and their outcomes, and also financial cost. I think that's just too great. So that's really what we're going to be focusing on the next year, how we can make that case and how we can be supporting areas to really showcase and demonstrate the impact that this investment is allowing them to make and why we need to be continuing with this work.